I don't see the
Okay,
video
we are live.
on YouTube.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. We will wait until people will join. A small sorry from our side. Yeah, we had. Okay. We had a technical issue today to connect. Okay, yeah, it will take a moment. I hope people will join in a moment. Small technical issue, so we delay, but I think we will be fine. I mean, well,
It will be good.
yeah, what can happen?
Right.
Yes, exactly. So hello everyone, hello again. We are sorry for some technical issues, but we are here. Hope you will find yourself here, and voila, say hello to us if you are with us. I will check in a moment. Okay, how it looks on the LinkedIn site. Okay. Some small mess that's happening. Okay. Okay, Matt, do you see us on LinkedIn, by the way?
Yes, I got a notification, but
Okay.
also got a notification that the event is cancelled. So I don't know if
Yes,
the
it's
people.
cancelled, but in the same time, it was created the new one. So I hope everyone will see it. If not, at least the tool says to me that we are streaming. Ah, what?
Yep.
What a.
Yeah, I can see it. So
You can see it in LinkedIn too, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you see it on LinkedIn. We see on YouTube. We see on Facebook. That's cool. Yeah, I see also. Okay, guys. Sorry for that. Again, technical issue. I see you are watching us. I see a few people already here. Hope is all fine. So, okay. So maybe we can start. Hi, Aaron. I don't know if it's your colleague. You know him from your network for sure, team. So nice to meet you. Okay, so maybe first few words because for sure today audience is different. Normally we broadcasting only in Poland. Today we are wider. Okay, Matt, can you mute yourself? Because I hear you clicking. Okay, thank you. So maybe a few words about us. We are OKR Poland. We do strategy implementation and strategy execution using the OKR method in different companies, mostly in Poland, together with Smart. We started 5 years ago in our own companies. I started in a big company, 1,000 people organization. Matt has his own company, around 100, right? On your side. So we met, we started to share our experience, and that's how OKR Poland started. And our main goal, our main mission is to share our practical experience, how to use OKRs, to implement strategy, to make your companies work well, work better, more efficient, to achieve goals. And so yeah, we share, we record our coffee with OKRs. We do it in Polish today, the first time in English. So this is our first English coffee. It's good that it's not English breakfast, right?
Right.
We situated in Gdańsk, near the Baltic Sea, in Poland, and it's 4:00 day. So we are afternoon time. We know that team, our guest is in a morning mood right now. So good morning, everyone who is listening on in from the countries where it's just morning started. Okay, and we met Tim. Actually, he wrote to us, asking us about. Okay, guys, I see you do OKRs. Let's talk. So we talked. We met each other. We say, "Oh, okay. So maybe we can use this time online also to share our experience and take this experience from Tim and share with you. So that's why we are here. So we have special guest here now, officially. Tim, hello in our coffee with OKRs. You have coffee, I have coffee.
I do too. I have the coffee, which is great.
Yeah, your coffee is better doing right now because it's my third coffee today. We are really. Thank you for joining us. If you can tell a few words about you, because I know that you have a huge experience with the strategy work with in companies with OKRs too.
Sure.
A bit different than ours, so it will be really interesting to hear. And I also know that you do podcast, a nice podcast about OKRs, which I also recommend, and we will share all links with you after this session. So,
great.
Stage is yours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Lena, Matt, thank you so much for having me on the program today. My name is Tim Meinhardt, and I am the president and CEO of a company called Atruity, Atruity. We're based in Washington, D.C. area. We've been doing OKR work for, this is our 5th year of doing this type of work. And, I've been very fortunate. I'm kind of a small business guy myself. I was owned and grew a very fast-paced company in the early and late 90s, and we were the 11th fastest growing company in the DC area. And so we were good planners. And when somebody turned me on to this objectives and key results methodology, I think, Lena, we actually talked about this offline, that I just fell in love with it. I thought, well, it's really, really terrific. And so I come more from what I would say is the C-suite. Okay. And so, I look at it a little bit, sometimes somewhat differently, but yet the consistencies are always the same with regardless of where you come into the OKR picture. So when I got started with Atruity, my first large account was with a company called Red Hat. I'm sure everybody's familiar with Red Hat. And
oh yeah.
yeah. So I got my wings, so to speak, in a very large company, and we built a really good methodology around delivering this successfully, and have been able to do so with both large and small organizations globally. I've done business in London, Saudi Arabia, Australia, and of course here in the United States. Projects range from companies in the couple $100 million to our largest was $9 billion in revenue, and our smallest was $2.5 million. But the methodology is still the same. And so that's me. I do have a podcast, OKRs Q&A, question and answer, OKRs Q&A. And we have about 80 episodes out there. And in those 80 episodes are about 35 or more that are customers of mine that wanted to share their journey. Like, what did it feel like? What was the biggest challenge that you overcame? And what was the biggest success? And what surprised you? And, and I've gotten some really wonderful conversations. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about Atruity, some of our clients, and a little bit about our podcast, Lena. Thank you.
Super. Thank you. Wow, that's a great value I think we can take from you today. So I can't wait really to this interview, to your answers to our questions. So sure. I think we just can start. We can go to this content. Yeah, right.
Yeah, let's go. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim, and it's great to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you once more for joining. So starting with the first question, when you start working with companies, of course, it probably differs from one company to another depending on the size, revenue. How prepared are they at the beginning? Like in terms of strategy, in terms of clarity of the strategy, in terms of how they are prepared internally for the change?
Right. Well, it's a fascinating question, Matt. And you're right, everyone's a little bit different. Okay. So how prepared are companies when we start working with them? Most organizations do have some level of strategy in place. Okay. So they're not walking in going, we don't know what to do. But when you do walk into a company, there are some things that we look for that that begin our journey. And first and foremost, and you and I have talked about this, was you do need an executive sponsor, someone in that C-suite that says, we're going to be able to do this program and we're going to take this undertaking, because that little bit of buy-in helps make the investment of time into this program more palatable and more understood for the parties that are going to be involved when we initially roll this out. And so, but I have to tell you that being prepared for what's going to take place in an OKR program, most of the people that we begin to talk to prior to going through our education process, it's kind of all over the lot. A lot of them are skeptical. Some people think, oh no, this is management's flavor of the month. They're trying to put something else on us to do. And so there is a healthy amount of skepticism, I think, when we originally go through this. One of the things that we try to do is we try to ask people during the educational process with us, what's on your mind with OKRs? What have you learned? Have you read any books? What do you know? We set up kind of a pre-educational, what I would call just a learning track. So look, if you haven't read John Doerr's book, maybe it's something you want to read. We recommend Christina Woodkey's book, Radical Focus, and she has a second one, Radical Focus 2.0, that I like as well. We say, hey, look, if you've watched any YouTube videos, feel free to do so. But when they come, what I want to do is find out, what are they confused about? What do they think they know? And what do they really want to know during our educational process? So we take a very iterative approach there. And the point I want to get across here is that in order for a program to really be put in successfully in an organization, you're going to need, as an OKR professional, you're going to need to be able to have that evangelistic attitude that you're going to have to get people involved and get them excited. So people are generally, you'll have an executive sponsor or two. You could have the entire C-suite that's into this. But when we come down to the executive level or department heads, there is skepticism, and we need to overcome that.
Okay, so basically what you are saying is that you need to have at least one person from the C-suite and a full buy-in from this person to really make the implementation successful, right?
Yes, and it's really about a time commitment. Matt, we talk, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about North Stars, but it's that development of those good North Stars that starts an OKR program. Well, some companies are better at it when you've walked into it than others. And so what we want to do is make sure they're comfortable in that area as well, because those serve as a foundation, okay, to be able to then put in place an OKR program. So we work very hard in doing these, but it does take a little bit of a time commitment up front. And so you need that executive sponsorship that's committed to doing this. So that's where I think that you need that sponsorship and that commitment, because as you both know, as you get into the program, it's a little clumsy at first. So people have to get the hang of things. So
it's really a lot of work from very top level of the organization to change the organization, because it's a way how we manage organizations. So I cannot imagine that we start somewhere else. I mean, of course, there are some circumstances when we start somewhere else, and it's fine. But finally, to get the success of OKR implementation, I guess we need to have buy-in of the top.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Matt. What are your thoughts?
Well, the only successful implementation I've seen so far is when the C-suite is really involved. or at least the rest of the organization have a strong buy-in from the C-suite. They not always are like very active in the implementation, but at least there is a strong buy-in from their side.
Right.
The other stories I also see is when the OKRs are more operational than the strategic, and this is basically the only case that I saw that OKRs can work without the C-suite buy-in, but they're like very encapsulated in a like smaller part of the operational space, not the strategic space inside the company.
Right. We'll generally go in at a higher level. We want to get the department heads involved, and the big question that we're always asked too is, are OKRs, are they for every department? And my answer is yes, of course. You're either in generating revenue or in supporting, or in a support function in the organization. Both of those things are critical for the success of the overall strategy and mission and everything that they want to get accomplished. So sometimes think, I'm in operations, I don't need to put a stretch goal in place. That's only for people that are stretching. And I think that's something that should be avoided, because culturally, you have gotten good culture buy-in from an organization when they are really talking to each other about their key results. And I think that's where you want to have everybody involved.
Okay.
So it's actually two sides of involvement, right? So first you need to buy in of the top, but it's also impossible without involvement of teams. So actually it's like everything or nothing.
Right. And we work really hard. I think, I think it's really important to recognize that if there is a particular individual at a high level that is quote unquote not into it, okay, or doesn't really believe in it, or we'll say it in an American term, is kind of mailing it in, all right, like they're just going through the motions. You need, as a OKR professional, you need to recognize that and deal with it accordingly, because that type of individual, as it goes throughout his organization, you're just going to get, it develops a cancer of its own, that they're not really in the game. And, if you're not in the game, I tell people, I said, look, this is just a tool. It's a tool. Okay. It's how you as a person and as a team, okay, and teams are made up of great individuals, okay, and it's how your team becomes part of a team of teams, that if you're not into it, okay, then then we need to find out why. And we believe strongly that there are rules and then there are guidelines. I use the funny analogy of the Johnny Depp movie Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know if they have that if you've seen it, but the two pirates are arguing, and the one says, well, that's pirate's rule, and the other, I think it was either Johnny Depp or the other pirate, says, no, well, more like a guideline. So what we try to do is understand that every organization is a little bit customized. So let's stay within the guidelines or the swim lane, but let's do something that works for everybody. If there's a cadence that isn't right, if something is struggling with something. So that buy-in, you're right, Lena. What happens is you do need buy-in throughout the organization, because, like I said, it's a tool. And if people don't buy into the fact of the power of it, then things will defeat its purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like at the end, it's a strategy execution, but who are responsible for that? Teams. Like you cannot achieve anything without your team. And I'm interested. We can continue to the next questions and next area. I'm interested also, guys. You are listening us. I see you. Write us in comments. What is your number one of buy-in in organizational to OKRs, or what do you think? Maybe what is your experience? I'm also wondering, what do you think? So let's also our audience to talk. I hope, guys, you can share with us your experience. But I think we can continue, of course, to not wait, because there is some small delay between our talk and comments. Unfortunately, I see it today.
That's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, you also touched upon a like very important point about like rules versus guidelines, and a lot of people expect like strong rules out of the OKR framework, when in reality it's only like guidelines, very similar to other methodologies. So how do you overcome this? I mean, people come up with expectations on how OKRs should work because they read books, they watch videos, especially from Google. They have strong opinions what's good and what's not good. And how do you deal with this?
Well, first, you're 100% correct that you can't run into an organization where somebody hasn't said something like, "Oh, I've done OKRs before. I read the book, so I know what's going on." But I think what's important is a level of consistency, okay, in your training. Okay, so a lot of people say, "I don't need to go to your training," but it's that consistency of getting those things done that that I think begins to build in that framework of okay, we're going to learn this way. And what we like to be able to do is stay with them from an advisory capacity as companies go on, because traditionally things will not only what they're going to do is they're going to there's going to have people that are going to leave, and then there's going to people that are going to come. And so you want to create that consistency of education, because you get somebody that you've hired, and the next thing you know, they have a complete and utter misunderstanding of it, and suddenly they're now directing everybody below them on how things should be done. So getting that level of consistency, I think, is really important.
Yeah, like in my opinion, it's also one of the foundations. Is to really put across like where in the organization like structure OKR lives. Like, is it like closer to strategy? What was the purpose of having OKRs? Why we are implementing it? And if you have this level of consistency throughout the teams, then it's much easier to lay down the expectations behind the OKR implementation. It's easier to write good goals. Like it all starts with the consistency that you mentioned.
By the way, guys, I just showed the message from one of our participants of our coffee. So you hope you drink coffee with us today, or tea or water. That Aaron wrote that basically it's define the progress with focused goal, because I asked about challenges and number one of buy-in in Orga. Thanks for the comment.
Yeah.
Okay. And just one thing, I thought that you, when you said about trainings, and that I thought about that by trainings we also get some confidence of people, so that when you're speaking about consistency and trainings and this like balance of all that, my observation is that by trainings actually, which is there is no theory of OKRs. It's more to give people more confidence how to work with the tool, and with sharing some practice and experience. I just wanted to mention that we touched another topic.
Yeah, no. Well, there's another thing that I think is important in this training piece, Lena, and that is that there are certain things that companies want to do that unfortunately they're not good for an OKR program. Okay, and these are the things that we talk about. These, we know these, like, don't tie it to compensation. Okay, and I think that's a big deal. And so you start to build in these little things that it's okay to shoot for something and not fail. How do you judge if you're using software? How do you judge a dashboard? Someone took a lot of risk, somebody didn't take any risk. So how do you look at those progresses the same? Somebody took a huge risk and said, I'm going to really go out there and try to do something wild. And they got 70% of the way there. And then somebody else said, I'm not going to take anything because I don't want to look bad. So I just took a little bit of a baby step here, and they get a green, okay? And the other person gets a yellow because they've really stretched and done something. Well, who did better? So that understanding and being able to understand that where the true measure of performance management comes in is in those communication, feedback, and recognitions that we all talk about, those CFRs. So just those are two things of those consistencies that if they're misunderstood, then what happens is it begins to erode the program overall. So that's why that education piece is so important, because we want to train the same way so that everybody gets the same foundation.
Yeah, and we actually lose the trust among teams very often if we do not communicate properly, or we make some kind of confusion around communication, or we think that it's clear, but for us, because, for example, we as OKR ambassadors worked for this topic for so many time, and it sometimes looks obvious for us, but when you come to the person who should write it for the first time, OKRs even, they say, oh my God, I don't know what are you talking about, and that's create confusion. And then it of course depends on attitude of the person. Sometimes it can create also a negative approach to the whole implementation. So I think that's what you are mentioning here. The communication is like really key, and I think we can smoothly go to another topic of our talk, that actually OKRs, like we said, it's a tool to gain some habits in the organization, right? So new habits. And I'm interested, what is, in your opinion, what are the most crucial habits teams should have to work with OKRs to really start, and then which habits will be the good sign that they are really work with OKRs? So what are habits do you have in mind, or you observe in organizational you work with,
right,
are crucial to start? And then also, how will you recognize that if team has or does that they are really working with OKRs?
Yeah. First, it's a great question. And, I
Thank
just,
you.
That's a great question.
Worked on that for the last 2 weeks.
So first, I want to let everybody know at our website, attruity1.com, you can go on there and download a free ebook. Okay. It's called the 7 C's for OKR Success. Now, I wrote this book.
Can you share the link after with us? And
yes,
then we can, yes, absolutely.
Yep. So those 7 C's, they are all C words that are somewhat habit forming. But I think the thing that I'll start with the word consistency. Okay. And the program that once you start running an OKR program, we're a big believer in small check-in meetings. Now, when we originally start with people, they begin to think, oh no, here's another meeting. And, I think, and I'll share a great story with you about this. So in consistency, I had this gentleman who was a naysayer. He was mailing it in, and I knew it, and he knew I knew it. Okay. And I said, Brian, you're mailing it in. What's going on? This stuff. It's OKR stuff. All right. So I saw him at a sales kickoff meeting 2 weeks later. And he stopped by and said, Tim, I just want to tell you this. He said, I'm all in. I go, what do you mean you're all in? He goes, oh, I love OKRs now. I go, whoa, what changed? He said, I have to tell you, I eliminated 3 meetings a week because of our OKR check-in meeting. And I said, wow, Brian, that is fantastic. He goes, that in its own way is worth it. And we could go down that whole path of meetings. But what they found, okay, was that by discussing what's most important, what are the big priorities, okay, that they had less meetings and the meetings were more productive. And we teach people how to run these meetings and how to participate in these meetings. And so having those meetings at a consistent time, okay, we like to say that people want consistency in their day-to-day work life. Okay, they want to know at Tuesday at 9:30 we've got our OKR check-in meeting. Not, oh, geez, we have to schedule that OKR meeting. Let's try to squeeze it in. And at first, you'll know it's working when everyone's attending. You'll know that you need to talk to people when some people aren't attending the meeting because, hey, I'm busy. Okay. What we want is that shift of attention to say, wow, this is important, not only for me to be able to let my team know of the remarkable stuff that we're doing and our wins, okay, but how my key results are doing, how my priorities are doing, and what's really important, because I'm a part of them, they're a part of me, and I need to let them know that. So you'll know this is working, Lena, when people are attending those meetings. And here's a secret, they're prepared. They didn't go, oh yeah, I dropped in the meeting and yeah, let me think, what did we do last couple of weeks? You know, and you're like, you're not prepared. So we work really hard with people. We give them, we start out, Lena, we say you can give a presentation 4 minutes. That's all you have. And people stumble, and look, it's clumsy at first, but within 2 to 3 times, they start getting the hang of it. And the next thing you know, you have a meeting with 8 to 10 people. You can run that in 35 minutes, you know, and we used to run 17 people in a meeting in an hour because people flew. They knew exactly what they were talking about. They knew how to present. We held questions to the end. We parking lotted things the right way. So if I was to tell you the habit that you have to have is doing things consistently, that's probably the number one issue. And you'll know if it's going right because people are actually doing the things that they should be doing when they go to a meeting. They're prepared, they're excited, they want to share their wins, they want to share with their team, and they're listening. You'll know it's not working as well when you'll have spotty attendance, okay, and people are unprepared. Now, we work very hard with organizations, really kind of hands-on, and so we want to be able to build those things in. And as I mentioned, when you first get started with OKRs, as you mentioned, Lena, earlier, it's uncomfortable. It's different. It's a different way of thinking. And now you're being asked to put everything in a visual format where everybody can see what you've said you're going to do. And man, it gets a little bit, it's a little clumsy and scary at first. But that to me is the biggest habit, is consistency.
Thank you, Tim. I actually, when you started to talk about preparation to the meeting, it was like, to me, the light in my head that, you know, I am doing workshops for almost 15 years. I teach people how to do workshop, how to prepare. And to be now, when you said that, it's like dot connected, because to me, the good prepared workshops, meeting to drafting of OKRs, review, retrospective are must have to really work with goals. And now I'm listening to you and say, oh, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not like, you know, this organizational freak who is required from people that, guys, you really need to be prepared because you cannot come. And one more observation I could add to that, that one of my team, which I'm facilitating right now, they shortened the time they spent on even drafting OKRs. So for example, 3 quarters ago, they spent 2 days to draft quarterly goals. And now they need like 2-3 hours because they know what to prepare. They know how to work, what information to look for before the meeting. And they are also used to work together. And it's an amazing, because I remember that like 3 quarters ago, they said, no, OKRs takes too much time. Too much. No, Lena. And now they said, oh, okay, actually, we can do that faster. Oh, and they feel that they really achieve that because they collaborate then, and this constant habit also of asking them, okay, guys, how was the meeting? What can we improve the next time? So this constant and iterational learning, even through the each and every meeting. And for me, I would add to what you said, which is brilliant, that it's also how we really improve in this meeting, so that we really do it consciously, not like, okay, whatever, we are not prepared and we go again. So we really take care about that.
Yeah, you know, Lena, as I said, it's a tool. You know, when you're first given a hammer or a screwdriver, you know, or a saw or whatever, you have to learn how to use it. Well, once you learn how to use it properly, and that's where, and I'll say this, that I don't know how many times I've been called into opportunities where they're not using the tool right, okay, and they're not getting the results that they want, and they didn't call in an OKR professional. And I really truly believe that having an OKR professional, someone that really knows how this is supposed to look at the end and how it's supposed to operate, really does help organizations. The failure rate on OKR programs is in the 70%, and they fail for very consistent reasons. And sorry, I go back to the consistency, but I think that you're right in that, having that tool, knowing how to use it and getting better with it as your journey continues. I think that's where people need to know. And that's that commitment, as I mentioned at the top as well, that, there needs to be commitment saying, guys, we're going to struggle a little bit with this, but we're going to stay with it because we know we're focusing our organization on what's most important. And we're aligning ourselves to be a team of teams. And that's where we're working towards. So you're right. Every quarter, they get a little bit better at that. And, and Lena, I'll add one other comment here. We are traditionally taught to report in meetings. Okay. And so when we do OKRs and we create OKRs, it's everyone thinks about what they've done. These are about outcome. It's where we want to go. What we want, where do we want to end up when the quarter's over? Okay. And that mentality of thought is new. Okay. So it's projecting where it is that we believe we want to be and how good could we be. We set personal goals ourselves. Hey, I'd like to drop 20 pounds, or I'd like to be able to, learn a particular language over a given period of time. So that we set that goal out, not really knowing how we'll get there. We've just committed to the goal. So that commitment level in business is a little different as well.
Oh, so true. I like, so many boxes like open it in my head when you say about, okay, not talking only about past, not only the status meeting. I remember the story in my team when they were like, why we should talk about this confidence status, like how confident you are you will achieve your goal. This is shifting a mind of talking about goals. It's not like, okay, what we have done, but are we really sure that we will be there, and what can we do to be there, and what works?
And what are our priorities? And hey, just to let you know, I'm struggling with this one. I need to talk with maybe somebody else here that is involved with this. And it really does bring that team together. You're amazed at how people, without objectives and key results, a lot of companies will operate in silos. We think traditionally of alignment as vertical, right? I report here and everything goes down vertically, but it's that 360 alignment, that horizontal alignment that really begins to really take over. And so when you are in a team of teams, when everybody knows what you're trying to accomplish and you know what everybody else is trying to accomplish, and if someone is struggling, nobody that I've known has ever not said, hey, can we help? And I think that's where collectively that you get that team of teams that I think really ends up driving those significant elements that everybody really wants when they take on objectives and key results.
Yeah, totally get it. I'm also wondering, because you mentioned that in the beginning, having OKRs in the organization is like clumsy, uncomfortable, it's new, and actually it's very in line in what customers come to us with, because they are saying we want to implement OKRs, but we don't want to do it the bad way. We don't want to discourage people. We don't want to create a feeling that OKRs are only another administrative things to do. So they're wise enough to get a consultation before they start the implementation, or they just started and they are feeling that it's not going into the right direction. So how do you manage the expectations inside the company about this hard start? How do you ensure that they know that someday it will be better?
Well, I have to tell you this. So when I started my podcast, I really wanted people to talk about that. So I'm very conscious of it. Look, when you put this management system in, okay, it's just naturally going to be that way. So I think acknowledging the fact that, look, this is what's good, you're going to be confused, you're going to struggle a little bit, but that's okay. All right. So when somebody does a meeting and things don't go right, they talk about their key objectives. Okay. And I go, no, it's an objective or a key result. And so they get it all confused at first, but it's okay. And that encouragement that you as an OKR professional have to let them know that you're not the first person that's done this way, and you won't be the last. And so it's okay. And so that, I think that encouragement and that evangelism from somebody that's been there, letting them know that, hey, first off, you're not in the wrong direction if it's a little bit difficult at first. Okay. Now, there could be some reasons within the program that you need to better understand so that they're not doing the things, for example, those two things I mentioned to you earlier, which would cause, those things are what I would say are out of bounds. They're out of the swim lane. But letting them know that there's some wide swim lanes here, what works best for you, listening. Okay. I believe very much in listening to the client and getting to know each individual as we work down through the management. What ultimately, Matt, is really important is that you build at that senior level multiple evangelists, okay, for the program, so that they then can evangelize the program down to their leadership, okay, people for them, and get them to feel the same way they're feeling. And that pervasiveness then runs its way throughout the organization. That's why it's really critical to work. And we say take our time. I'm a firm believer in taking your time and putting one of these programs in, because if you rush it and put everybody in all at once, the confusion is too much and you can't manage the chaos. And so what we believe is, let's take our time. Let's build some people in the organization that are believers in this. And I will tell you this is a true story, and I believe this to be true, that sometimes the biggest naysayers, okay, the ones that are like, not going to do this, it's a wait, those become your biggest advocates. Okay. And they really, really do, because once they've said, oh, wow, I get the power of this now, they also become your greatest advocate. So that's the best way I would answer that, Matt, is that, there's no quick answer, but each person's a little bit different, and being a little bit personal and genuine with them, letting them know that it's okay, that they feel this way, finding out more what's on their mind, and then working to correct those, I think, is what builds that evangelistic attitude at the senior level.
So basically, here two things that are important for me. So the first is ability to really tell a good story from the C-suite perspective, like why we are implementing OKRs, what are our expectations, and first and foremost, that we don't expect the rest of the company to do it perfectly from the start. Like right. That you're allowed to make mistakes, you're allowed not to achieve goals. This is something that we are learning, that this is something that is new to the company, so everyone is allowed to make mistakes, right? This is the message that I hear.
Right, and don't let perfect get in the way of pretty good, okay? So, and let people know, and we mentioned this earlier, and Lena mentioned it, this is a journey. It's a journey, okay? And you're not gonna get it all right at first, and that's okay, because you're gonna learn. And what is so fantastic about objectives and key results is when somebody gives you that aha moment and said, Tim, we did some really great things. And you know why? Because we didn't see it at first, but the more we've done it, quarter after quarter, we learned what really was important, okay? And, not that it was clouded in other things. And so that importance, I think, is really what drives organizations forward, is when they have that aha moment.
I'm sorry to mention that, but we cannot agree on everything. That's not possible. Let's find tandem which is totally different. I don't know.
Turns out that both Polish and US companies and European companies are in the end very similar. So
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think there's universal understandings here that we're all people. We're all wanting to do a good job, and all we want's a little direction. In today's world, people want to know why they're important and what they're doing to make their organization better because they feel better. Okay, if you don't have that in your organization and you feel, especially in today's world where this video conferencing is more norm now than we would ever give it credit for, to know that your North Stars have been set for your organization and what you're doing and how you're making an impact, I think it's truly important.
Yeah, that's totally true. Also, I haven't spoken to you about this before, but recently I came up with an idea on how to manage expectations when implementing OKRs for the first time in the company, because the more experience I have, the more I'm able to foresee what will happen in the future based on the conditions that I see. So I see organization that it is in the state X, they want to do the implementation in some way, and I already see what will happen in the next quarter with a huge certainty. So what I was thinking about is creating an implementation plan and showing them, okay, after this quarter, you probably will face this, and this challenge. You probably will have to work on this. The next quarter, if you continue this way, such challenges may appear. And I don't want to foresee every bad things that will happen, but just manage expectations. What can happen in the future, so they can prepare the communication for the entire company. Have you tried doing things this way to really communicate what can happen?
So Matt, I was thinking as you're speaking, I'm going, that's a pretty interesting concept, and I'd have to think that through. But I think. And I'll say yes and no to this. And the reason I say yes and no is some people catch on to this faster than others, and so I think we actually sit in all the check-in meetings, okay, and we're there to observe. And so I'm looking for a few things when I sit in an OKR check-in meeting. As I mentioned, we're pretty hands-on. So what I'm looking for is, number one, are they prepared? Are they into it? Okay. Or are they not into it? Do I need to speak to them privately? Number two, the second thing I'm looking for is that are they getting the hang of what it is that they're supposed to be reporting on and talking about in a meeting? And then number three, were we right? Was this really the most important? Did they, what was their thought process? We work with each senior leader to help them develop and facilitate a meeting to help them develop their key results and objectives for a particular quarter. So you get to know them a little intimately about really what it is that they wanted to get accomplished. So, some people get it faster than others, but we sit in those meetings because we want to observe and we want to know, are they getting it or are they not getting it? Were we right or wrong? Did we miss it? Did they miss it? Was there a concept that wasn't properly, done? Kinesthetic learning is a real thing. It's one thing to teach, another thing to have them do, but another thing to be there watching them as they go through that. So we work real hard the first quarter to see what happens like that, and then we'll continue on sitting in the meetings as long as they'll have us. And but it's important, I think, just to be able to know where they are in that continuum, as you mentioned, because as well as I do, you can see it coming. Oh, they're going to struggle in this area. They're going to struggle in that area. So that would be the only other comment that I would add is that, it's some teams get it faster than others, and I think part of that is the leadership. Leadership with and I say that complimentary because some leaders are more into it than others. There's a means to an end here that we want productivity, we want faster growth, We want better profitability. That's the whole point of all this. And so um, some people are a little more into it than others. And that's the way other question.
Thank you. That's a great answer, and I think, like, personally, this is one of the biggest things that I struggle with right now, because I need to really compare what I know, like, after those 5 years of working with multiple companies versus the current knowledge of the company that I'm working with. And this is finding this balance between giving the right amount of information and the right amount of complexity versus what I experience is one of the hardest things right now, I think.
No, and you're right. And I espouse to this one particular statement, okay, and I really try hard to do this, but it's the KISS theory, KISS, okay, and it's keep it simple, and the last word. So so I do try to keep it simple with people, because if you think about it, really the beauty of objectives and key results, after you've done it all, it's simple. It's these are the things that are most important in my world that I'm focused on, okay. This is what has to happen as our team. So getting it to that simplistic point, Matt, I think is what's really, really what I kind of try to look for is when they go, Tim, we got it. We can think, we're now thinking like this. And so it's keeping it simple, I think sometimes is really, and not overthinking things. And to me, that's what I find is people overthink it. And, for the agile folks in the audience, Agile and OKRs, they play together. So they play together in the same dance, so to speak, but one is more tactically based. What are we doing today? Whereas OKRs are more about your prioritization. What are we trying to accomplish over a longer period of time? So what we find is people that are more steeped in Agile have a tendency sometimes to write their key results in a compounded way, or they try to list everything they need to do in one key result. And we don't, no, we just want the outcome. We just want to know what it is at the end. And so, and that's trying to get it simple. So don't have to think it all out in your key result. Just, we want to know where you want to be at the end of this. And so that's where the Agile people, when they finally grasp that concept, is where they then go, wow, we got it, and off we go. So,
wow, what a brilliant sentences. Super. Team, I think it's a time for us to summarize, because time flies fast. Yeah. I think when it comes to the topic we're really in, we can talk a lot, and I think that today's talk was really very inspirational to me. I would like to maybe highlight a few words from all you said, words that comes to my mind regarding the good OKR implementation. That you mentioned that it should be first commitment on all levels, top level and team level. That you mentioned a few times word consistency on all areas, and I think it's really important aspect in the OKR implementation, that it's really and maybe the last one, like a third, maybe four. So keep it simple, not overthink, and that enjoy your own journey. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Remember, why are you doing OKRs as a first step? Why you decided to go there, and try and experiment and do and iterate and learn. And of course, use the knowledge and good practices from outside, because it's important, because it helps you to not invent the wheel again, but at the same time, do not forget that it's also your own journey. And I think this, if you're okay with this summary, I think that.
Lena, I think it's outstanding. And I go back to that simple book I told you about, this ebook, 7 C's. because it's communication, it's consistency,
Yeah.
it's C-suite. It's all
Yeah.
those things I mentioned. That makes a comprehensive program work. And that's what you need. And so
and baby steps, right? And baby steps, baby steps. Not everything at once. And I think it's really important. We see it from a lot of implementation. And closing today, Kofi, I would like to ask our audience, if you guys have a questions, please ask them right now or also later. The contact to Tim, to me, to Matt is there. We can share all questions you will share. If not right now, you also can write to us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, also on email hi@okrpoland.pl. So you also can write there. And what else I can tell you, guys? It was super inspirational talk. And Tim, thank you again to come to talk.
You're welcome. This was really good. So I'm going to have both of you all are going to come on my podcast as well.
Okay, so we'll be on podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, with pleasure, sure. And guys, let us know, how do you like that? Do you need other topics you want us to tackle? Coffee with OKRs, it's just easy time where we can talk about OKRs and different aspects. So thank you all of you who were with us despite technical issues. I hope it didn't bring you any problems. So that's actually all. And I see the link from Tim. That's cool. Okay, I'm immediately sharing it with people where you can download this book, 7S, right? So
yeah, it's a truity1.com, and it's the 7 C's. Just go down the page and you'll see a download. And
okay, cool. I think it will be.
It's a short book. It's 7 or 8 pages. So, but it talks about those things that are important. So
amazing. I think it will be great value for all of our audience. So, well, have a good day for you who are in the morning mood, and a good night and
good
afternoon.
Night and good evening to you all.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's actually end, and I'm going to my training right now. So
thank you, Tim. Lovely to have you.
Matt and Lena, thank you so much for having me on your program, and I wish you all wonderful success in the future.
Thank you, and I hope we see each other. For sure.
Yeah, no, we will. We're, like I said, we'll let everybody know when you're on our podcast. So
the world is small.
The world is very small.
See you. Yeah, right.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.